Let's get this out of the way right up front. Linux is not Windows. It does not want to be Windows. And every time someone complains that Linux doesn't work like Windows, a penguin gets a little stronger. That's not a bug. That's the point. Most frustration with Linux comes from a bad assumption. People expect Windows, but cheaper. Or Windows, but customizable. Or Windows, but without Microsoft watching you breathe. That's not Linux. Linux isn't a Windows alternative. It's a different philosophy of computing that just happens to run Firefox and Steam. If you approach Linux expecting Windows behavior, Linux is going to feel broken. If you approach Linux on its own terms, Windows starts to feel weird. Windows is an appliance OS. You're not supposed to understand it. You're not supposed to open it up. You're not supposed to ask questions like, why is this running? Why can't I remove this? Why did my computer reboot itself like it pays rent? Windows assumes one user, one way to work, one correct workflow, and that workflow is decided somewhere in Redmond. It's designed to be managed, not understood. Linux is the opposite. Linux assumes you might be curious, you might want control, you might want to say no. Linux doesn't hide the system from you. It hands you the system and says, here, don't hurt yourself, or do, you'll learn. That's why Linux has multiple desktops, multiple init systems, multiple package managers, multiple opinions. And yes, sometimes that's messy. Freedom always is. Whenever someone says, Linux should just do what Windows does, what they really mean is I don't want to learn a new mental model, and that's fair. Learning takes effort. But copying Windows would defeat the whole reason Linux exists. Linux isn't trying to win the Windows game. Linux is trying to avoid the game entirely. No forced updates, no ads in the start menu, no OS-level nagging to use a cloud account. You don't rent your computer on Linux, you own it. This difference matters because computers are infrastructure now. They're how we work, how we communicate, how we organize, how we resist bad defaults. Linux gives you transparency instead of mystery, configuration instead of coercion, choice instead of compliance. And yeah, sometimes that means editing a config file. Sometimes it means reading documentation. That's not elitism, that's literacy. So the real question isn't, why isn't Linux more like Windows? The real question is, why did we accept Windows being the default in the first place? Because once you step outside that assumption, Linux stops looking unfinished and starts looking honest. Linux isn't Windows, and thank whatever gods you believe in that it isn't. If you're tired of defaults that don't serve you, tired of systems that fight back, tired of software that assumes you're the problem, welcome. This is Against Default.